So you want to grow your own food. And you may be wondering, should I have a vegetable garden, a food forest? Maybe you want to have an urban homestead, or maybe you just want to be more self-sufficient. Well, before you go and break ground and buy seeds, you need to have a plan. See, the worst thing you can do is have a whole bunch of food that you and your family aren't going to eat. So today on Wild Florida, we're going to talk about how to make a food plan. A meal plan? No. A food forest plan. A vegetable plan? I got it. An edible garden plan. It's fall here in Florida and we are starting our classic vegetable gardening season. I know, what the northerners start in the spring, we start in our fall. It's just backwards down here, but we like it, right? So I'm making my fall vegetable plan, and then I thought, you know what, everybody might not know how to do this, so maybe I should help you guys learn how to grow your own food by making your own plan. So what we're gonna go through is how to choose what to plant, how to decide where to plant, how much do you need to plant, and then how to cram as much stuff as possible into that space. Because if you know anything about me, if you've watched some of my videos, you know I like to maximize efficiency on my space. Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. So the first thing is how do you choose what to grow? Well, let's first start with this first part, which is what do you buy a lot of? So you can look at this a couple different ways. One, look at your meal plan. So if you're a meal planner, you plan out all the meals for the week, and then you go and buy just that and nothing else. You're not an impulse buyer, which is much more cost effective. I'm for it. Then you have a really good idea of what are the common ingredients. If you're not, or in addition to just looking at your meal plans, you can also grab your grocery receipt bill and just look at it. What is expensive? What do you buy every week? What are the things that you always eat for breakfast or always have in your lunch or always have in your dinner? That can also be the third thing you can do is you can talk to like your husband, I did this, and you can say, hey, what do we buy a lot of? And then he goes, onions. We buy onions every single week. Onions goes on the list. We buy bananas every week. Bananas went on the list. And so we just basically try to put down a list of things we buy almost every week or every other week. So you just make that list. So for us, what came across really obviously was in our breakfast was bananas, berries, spinach. We ate those things every day. Well, and English muffins, but like I can't grow English muffins and I'm really not gonna get into growing wheat, so I took that one off. So I just generally stay away from baked goods. But when it came to just like produce stuff, spinach, bananas, berries, every single day we eat those. And then when we started talking about dinner, it was like, oh, well, we always use like an onion or two per week. We tend to use 1 to 3 bell peppers a week. Tomatoes, we don't tend to buy every week, but we do buy salsa every week, and we usually go through a jar. So we started writing those things down. Okay, so salsa, and then because I had just started growing green onions sometimes from scraps that we already had, I started realizing, well, we tend to buy green onions about once a month. So I need to start increasing how many green onions I buy. So after you've got your list, the next thing you want to do is do a little bit of math. You don't have to go crazy. I got an Excel spreadsheet and I went to town because I like doing these things. This is what I do in my free time for fun. Maybe not for you, but there's two things you're trying to look at. One is what do you buy a lot of pounds of, and what do you spend a lot of money on? Now, for the best return on investment from your garden, focusing on things that give you a really good financial savings are really, really good. So like for us, berries, we spend a lot of money on berries regularly. So having a mulberry tree saved us a lot of money. When it came to things like sweet potatoes, we just didn't use them that often, but they can drive a lot of pounds that we can grow in a very small space. So what we found is that by growing a lot of pounds of a food that is not that expensive, we could really offset a lot of costs because we started finding more dishes that use sweet potatoes, so we didn't buy as many expensive items. So looking at both pounds and cost items can give you a nice priority for your list. So when we originally did this like a couple years ago, it was bananas, berries, sweet potatoes. Oh, and then sweet potatoes did like a double whammy because it started replacing recently our spinach. And now that you've gone through this exercise, wait, first let me just say, if this is not perfect, it's okay. Like, it's really okay that it's not perfect. This is just supposed to be directional, just to give you an idea, because you want to focus on things that drive pounds or drive dollars in your grocery buying. Another thing you need before you start growing your own food is you need some tools and supplies. And if you're wondering what I use, go ahead and check out the links in the description below. Okay, back to planning. So now that you've got this list that has some idea pounds, now honestly, do not do every item on your grocery list that you ever buy. Just work on like maybe your top 10, 15, 20 at most. I wouldn't go beyond that. Just a rough list. This should be a quick exercise. If you want to go and like build a whole spreadsheet and like annualize it and like get very minutia detail, one, I love it, totally do it. But don't feel like you have to, really don't. I didn't. I just started with kind of the top 10 plants that I thought maybe we would want in our yard. It's a great starting spot. And because you did this, you now have a list of priority plants, right? So you know you eat a lot of bananas and maybe you eat a lot of apples. Now you need to go look at the fact of what grows where you live. Because I live in Florida. Fuji apples do not grow here. No. So I can't really do that. And you may live in Alaska and bananas, not a good choice. You know, you get what I'm saying? Right, so learning a little bit about plants that grow well in your area will then help you work on your priority list. So hey, if you live in a temperate climate, bananas come off, but maybe you eat lots of peaches and they grow well there. So just look at stuff like that. So now that we figured out what kind of things we want to grow. So when I did this exercise, I've done this exercise for things that are in my food forest. So that's why I have things like my banana, which you can't see, there's a whole bunch of bananas right here, mulberry trees, sweet potatoes, yada, yada, yada. That informed a lot of what went into my food forest. So now when I'm planning for my vegetable garden this fall, my little plan, my son's drawing, my drawing. What I figured that I needed is that I wanted to start working on replacing our salsa purchase that we do every week. So growing a lot of tomatoes, peppers, onions with a dash of cilantro would be really important. I also know that we do chili regularly, so doing things like beans and some corn would also be really important for us to grow. It made the most sense. So on my list, I put things like beans, tomatoes, tomatillos. Oh, I'm gonna just do some pumpkins because you know, why not? And onions, peppers, different types of peppers. So some that will be like more like bell peppers. They're not bell peppers, I bought a different breed, but will act like those for things like our chili. And then things that will go in the salsa. Oh, and I did tomatillos because green salsa, you know. Actually, I bought purple tomatillos, so I'm excited for that. And then the corn, because we use frozen corn on the regular. So I just thought it'd be fun. I've tried corn before, and I really want to I just want to really do it this year. So I'm going to do a big block of corn. So I have my list of things I wanted to grow. So now we need to choose a location for our garden. So you need to consider things like sun, your soil, the season, which we already figured out, right? I know I'm gonna do my fall stuff, which all the plants I listed do well at this time of year for where I'm located. And then water. So when it comes to sun, for me, I need 4 to 6 hours because I live in the subtropics, edge of tropics. So I'm using my front yard, because why not? Show off that I like to grow food. My parents are super funny. Hi, Mom and Dad, you're probably watching this. Yeah, and they asked me like, but what will the neighbors think? I'm like, 1, some of my neighbors like it. 2, some of them think my husband and I are quirky. And 3, the ones who don't like it never say anything, so whatever. And anyways, the ones who probably would say something, I think their yards are ugly, so who cares? I know that sounds mean, but here's the real thing, is like neighbors who walk by, like I know some of them think it's a little quirky, but their kids actually come up and they're like, I want to eat a tomato. So it's like, yeah, take a tomato. So you know what, be the change you want to see. So I put vegetables in my front yard. I'd like to see more people grow food in their front yard. So I put it out there. I'm making it. Be the change. Okay, so now we've got a location. Mine's gonna be in my front yard. I had already been growing vegetables in my front yard. I did a victory garden. Oh, if you want to check out the victory garden series, go ahead, you see. But we're expanding it. Whoo, we gotta expand it. So basically, from in this drawing here, I'm basically gonna do a 12 by 22 space. The victory garden's actually right where my hand is. I'm gonna probably plant something else there. I don't know what yet. We haven't gotten there yet. Let's be real, I haven't gotten there yet. I also have to figure out what goes right behind this camera because I haven't figured that out yet. But yeah, so basically 12 by 22 space. So now I know how much space I have. So now we got to figure out question 3, how much can I grow, right? So it's great we can say how much we buy, but that doesn't mean we can necessarily grow that much food. So I've got to work with the space I've got. So it goes to this plan here. So what I've decided to do, I've got my spot, is that I'm gonna do a whole block of corn, because corn likes to grow in blocks. I'm gonna do some like pepper, onion, pepper, onion, pepper, onion thing right there. Now, and I could start figuring out, basically as I started laying stuff out, I started figuring out like, well, how much is that gonna grow to? So I basically figured out I can get in that amount of space about 72 onions. And since we buy about an onion a week, or about half an onion maybe in per jar of salsa, maybe that's too much, that's gonna maybe be able to cover my salsa needs plus supplement our weekly onion buy. And then the amount of peppers, you know, it's not perfect. It's not gonna be enough to cover it all, but that's okay, because you also have to think about how well things preserve. So like onions, you can preserve those for a long time, sweet potatoes, but peppers, you either gotta freeze them, eat them, or make them into something in like can or jar it, pickle it, do something like that. So consider what you're gonna use it for. And the last thing you wanna consider is, so you have to do calculations. Again, calculations. Look, if you don't want to, just grow stuff. Just go like, I've got this space, I'm putting stuff in. It's fine. Like, again, who's grading you? Only you. You figure it out. Try some stuff out. And honestly, this is not my first year gardening, so doing this kind of stuff. So like each year I get a little bit better and I do a little bit more. And look, just be kind to yourself. It's okay. And don't worry if your yard looks crazy at the end. Mine does this over and over again. Hence the reason on the regular, hi mom and dad, they ask me, what are your neighbors going to think? Okay, so then the last thing you want to consider is how to maximize your space. Because right, if you need 500 onions a year, which maybe you want to consider like, what do you give the most amount of space to? And because I really wanted to focus kind of on what we use for chili and salsa, those were going to be what I gave the most space to. And also, you want to consider, how do you maximize your space? Go vertical. So I'm going to be putting in some arch trellises. Looks like this. This is a side view. And basically these areas, they're going to be 12 foot long and about 3 feet wide on either side. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I can maximize having beans run up it. So I'm going to be using some vining beans. I'm going to be having some, of course, my indeterminate tomatoes running up, some, not the tomatillos, but I've got some acorn squash that's going to go up and over. And I'm probably going to have some pumpkin volunteers because they already just popped right up. So I'll have those going up and over so that I can maximize my total amount of space. And for my kids, because I just thought they would have fun running through tunnels. Because, you know, who doesn't want to have tunnels to run through? It's like that song on TikTok. Secret tunnel through my garden. Secret, secret, secret tunnel. It was like that, right? No? Okay. Which the tunnel, I'm sorry, arch trellises made from cattle panels will maximize the space the most because we went vertical. And that's how you can cram the most space. So you go vertical, you do layering technique where I got my tall in the back, which is this is the northern side of my yard, southern side of the yard. So I'm going tall to short, and then over on this side, so this is north, this is gonna be south, this is east, this is west. So I can maximize sun exposure, no more than 4 to 6. This will give a little bit of shade throughout the day. I think it's gonna be cool. I'm excited to do this. Now that we know what we wanna plant, hey, we may wanna build some cattle panel trellis arches, and that's what we're gonna be covering next. So to make sure you don't miss it, go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. New videos each week on Friday and sometimes a bonus on Sunday. And while you wait, go ahead, make sure you check out those links below for tools and supplies that you need. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.